Alright, so if you're watching this channel, there's a very high possibility that you're either black, broke, unemployed, or single. And there's 100 or 99.999% chance that you're kind of worried about your future. Those fears are warranted. We're living through some really unprecedented times. Things are really bleak on the ground. Or as Rita would say, there's no cash on the ground right now. I mean, we're facing a job market that feels like it's shrinking every day. Certain milestones feel further away. Things like buying a house, getting married, having kids, buying a car. All of these things feel like they're just slipping away. And honestly, even at this point, those things feel like a threat. Like if someone told you you're gonna have a kid tomorrow, a 30-year mortgage, a car note, oh my god, a wife, Jesus Christ, I'm finished already. Just the thought of them is just making me it feels more bleak. Definitely feels more bleak. It feels more it feels easier to kind of like be more nihilistic. It feels easier to kind of emotionally detach from your dreams, from your hopes for the future, because of every all of the information that we're receiving. But if you are watching this, I truly believe that each and every one of us are more resilient than we think we are. We're more stronger. We're able to take on more challenges. We're able to go through more stressful situations than we think we could. And I think that no matter how hard things get, human beings have this really beautiful ability to find ways to survive, to find ways to keep on living, to find solutions, adapt to very difficult circumstances. And so, with this very particularly for men, I really just wanted to just share some encouragement and just to remind you of that, especially where despite whatever you have or don't have, there's still that ability, there's still that hope that is never going to die in you if you keep on going, if you keep on moving the right way. And the first thing that we can do is put everything on the table. And I mean that metaphorically and also physically at times. The biggest challenge that every man will face as they are growing up is the fear of the unknown. A lot of our anxieties are based on our fear of, are we going to be able to perform? Are we going to be able to live up to the standard required of us? And are we going to be able to achieve the goals that we have set in our minds? And these fears, these anxieties always stem from the future. We need to constantly ground ourselves in reality, in what we have now. I think that when we lose sight of the ground, when we lose sight of our feet, that's when a lot of our anxieties attack. And so I think it's so important for us to ask ourselves grounding questions, which are, what do I have? What can I do? How can I do it? Where can I go? And a lot of these questions target those anxieties. A lot of these questions target those fears, because our minds are really interesting, where we can have so much of these feelings and beliefs that often stem from these wide, expansive ideas that are not even real. And I think that it's a gift and a curse, because that's where our vision comes from. That's where our ability to have hope and to dream dreams comes from. But on the other hand, it can also be our downfall if we are not careful. If we allow those thoughts to run rampant, if we allow those thoughts to take us to places which are unhelpful for our mental health, for our physical health, and the people around us. And so one of the things that we need to do by asking ourselves these grounding questions is that we're moving from a space where we are allowing our mind to move out, and we're now focusing on what we can do. We are focusing on what we have. We're looking at things which are in our control rather than things which are not. And that helps so much. Where regardless of if you are young, if you're black, if you're broke, if you're unemployed, if you're single, yes, those things carry so much attached to them. But what about what's in our control? We cannot affect a decision that another person can make, but we can change our mindset. We can approach ourselves. We can focus on ourselves. We have autonomy within ourselves, and that slight shift in perspective will do so much in changing the way that we look at things, change the way that we look at our current circumstances. And I think that is such an important skill to have. And then secondly, contentment. A dirty little secret about life is that no matter how much you earn, no matter how much you get, no matter how much you're able to produce, it will never be enough. There's always going to be this mountain that you feel the need to climb. There's never going to be a point where you can look around and say, I'm done. Like, my work is done. In whatever field that you find yourself in whatever space that you find yourself in whatever relationship that you find yourself in, there is never going to be an end point. You can picture the perfect life for yourself. You can picture the house, the wife, the kids, the life that you want to live. And even in that, there's always going to be something that tells you that this isn't enough. And that's because our default setting as human beings, unfortunately, is the fact that we are always seeking more and more. And I say that because in whatever opportunities that you find, in whatever life that you end up living, in whatever circumstances that you find yourself in, you are going to require a certain level of contentment. And the concept of contentment is relative. It's going to look different to different people. It's going to feel different to different people. It's going to mean different things to different people. And finding that state of happiness or satisfaction is not something that comes naturally to us as human beings. It is something that we have to work towards every day. It is a state that means that we are constantly moving in it and out of it, and it requires work for us to be able to move in it and to constantly come back to it. It's a muscle that you have to work out every day, that we have to practice every day. And as I said in the beginning, as men, there's always going to be something that you want to achieve. There's always going to be a mountain that you want to climb. When you reach the peak of this mountain, there's going to be another mountain that you want to climb. And because of this, our ambition and our visions can easily become tainted by our lack of contentment. We can see this in relationships where a lack of contentment can lead us to infidelity. A lack of contentment in success can lead us to falling into a life of crime, or going down paths that lead us to unscrupulous individuals that take us into these spaces which we are not supposed to be in. And so a lack of contentment is such a hazard, is such a very dangerous thing to have. So working out the skill of contentment is so important in whatever your circumstances be, as you navigate growing up, becoming building a relationship with someone, finding a job, all of these different things. There's a certain level of contentment that you need in all of these different things. And not cultivating that is going to be so dangerous, and it's going to be detrimental to your future if you don't do it. And so I think that it's important to cultivate that now as we're growing up with the little that we have. And then finally, and this one is key, reckless optimism. And to break this one down, I want to share a couple of verses. The first one is Romans 8:28, which reads, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, and for those who are called according to his purpose." Joshua 1 verses 9. "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." And then Philippians 4 verses 11 to 13. "I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all things through him who gives me strength." And the reason why I wanted to share these verses is because they speak to the core of reckless optimism. In each and every one of these verses, the context around them, from Romans, where Paul is speaking about unifying, this vision of unifying Jews and Gentiles, which was unheard of for so long. It must have felt otherworldly to have that thought, but also to even try and pursue it. And then in Joshua, him having to become the leader, him having to become this man who is who is being asked to lead these people into the promised land. The weight of that must have felt so heavy. And then in Philippians as well, you have this image of Paul now finally kind of like discovering, I think that what we spoke about before is like contentment. I know what it's like to have much, I know what it's like to have little. But through everything, there's still that form of like optimism. There's an optimism that is rooted in Christ that will take you through any situation. And so that's where our reckless optimism comes from. It's not from just this belief that there's just that we are going to be successful, or we're going to always win, we're always going to like do always going to thrive. No, there's a certain level of like optimism, reckless optimism that comes from us being rooted in God, that I think is so important and is seen in these verses. And so what I did want to say was like, when our faith and when our belief in the future is no longer tied to us having these visual symbols of success or these tangible aspects of success, when our vision for our future is tied now to our belief in God, to our knowing that God is with us through it, that's our freedom. That's where our success is. It's no longer what will happen. It doesn't matter if we become married. It doesn't matter if we get a car. It doesn't matter if we have kids. It doesn't matter. Literally, that's the point where it doesn't matter if any of that happens. But what means the most is being able to look to the side of you and being able to see God and be like, oh, he's right here with me. And so I know I'm successful already. And knowing that is like, so that's our freedom. That's the source of our contentment. That's what grounds us. Yep. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, that is it. That is it from me. That is it from me. That is it from me for today. Thank you so much for watching, tapping in, however you were able to. And yeah, man, I'll see you guys somewhere, somehow on one of these channels. Peace.